In this video, we are going to be coding the header of our page. We can see that the header contains 3 links and a sign in button. That is also a link. So to create all these things, first of all, we shall create a div and give it an ID of container. This div will serve as the container for all the markup of our page and will include header, content, and footer. Alright, as per our previous discussion, let's give our container a width of 960 pixels. Width 960 pixels inside the container ID definition. Let's also give it a background color so that it's easy to recognize the location of our container inside the browser. Alright, we've given it a light background color. Now inside the container, we'll create the header. Recall that HTML offers us a semantic div element for creating the header with the name of header. Now let's also give a margin of 0 and auto to our container so that it is centered in our page. Alright, now that we have written the markup for container and header, it's time to talk about the sign in button first. There are 2 methods for creating the sign in button. First method would be to create a button using the input element inside the form element and setting the value of type equal to submit, as we can see in front of us. And this will create a button for sure. Although there is no harm in creating a button this way, but I believe this is not the correct way. Because when we create the button using the input type equals to submit, the button created this way has a specific meaning. That is, it is used for submitting some information. For example, the button Google search can and should be created using the input type submit, because it is used for submitting our search queries to Google server. Whereas the sign in button is just serving as a clickable link. We click on it and it takes us to the Gmail sign up page. So in my opinion, the correct method of conceiving the sign in button is to consider it a clickable link. And one way of creating it can be considering the button as a div element with a certain width and height and kind of blue background color with text inside it. Make sense? Alright, so let's define a div inside our header, give it an ID of sign in, alright, ID of sign in, and inside the div create an anchor element and give it the text sign in. Now we shall define the dimensions of our sign in div and the text will appear at its center, or at least this is what we're trying to do. I have already calculated the approximate width and height of the button for you, so let's give it a width of 80 pixels and a height of 30 pixels. And there's the specific value of the background color, that is £4285F4. That will be the exact blue color that we see on the Google home page. Alright, now if we save and load into the browser, and here we are. This is the initial shape of our sign in button. It doesn't look like the button that we are aiming for, so let's start refining our button. First, we set its text color to white. But where shall we set its text color to white? Inside the anchor elements definition. And #in space A is referring to the anchor element that is found only inside the div with the ID of sign in. So we have given it a color of white and a text decoration of none. This definition will target the anchor elements that are found only inside the div element with the ID of sign in. Alright, let's also give it a line height of 30 pixels. This line height is equal to the height of our div. That is also 30 pixels. What line height does is that if it is equal to the height of its immediate container, it centers the text such that it has equal distance from top and bottom. Save it and load into the browser, and we see that the text is not only white, its underlined styling has been removed, but also it is at equal distance from top and bottom. But it's not exactly in the middle of its left and right hand sides. So let's now center the text. And to center a text inside a block level element, there is a dedicated CSS property known as text align. So let's set text align to center. Oh no, we are making a mistake here. The value of text align colon center should be defined inside the div element, not the anchor element, because we want to center our text inside the div or with respect to div. Alright, so now if we reload, we see that the text is now exactly in the middle of our button. Going good so far. Great. Our next task is to take the button to the rightmost corner of our header, since at Google homepage the sign in button is the rightmost thing found inside the header. And no prize for guessing how we shall take our button to the rightmost corner of its container. Obviously we'll use the float right property for our div element with the ID of sign in. Now if we save and reload into the browser, we see that our button has gone to the rightmost side, but where's the background color of our container? Let's get back to our CSS to see if we have made a mistake. No, not at all. The code is correct. Then why is the color not showing? Well, if you know the answer, then great. And if you don't know the answer, then pause the video and punch yourself in the face. And then inside the button's container, that is the header type overflow hidden. Now if we save and reload, we'll see that now we have our desired background color back. Great. Next we need to create some margins all around the button so that it has some distance from its container's edges. So let's set the value of margin to 20 pixels. Great, it will set the margin of 20 pixels all around. Save and reload. That is great. Now our button is more or less at its ideal location. Let's move on and create the 3 links plus Gmail and images, but we'll do that in the next video. Thanks for watching.